Got a couple of mods that I'm testing this season. I widened the gap between the wheel and the mounting arms so that snow won't catch there and build up like it did last year. Although it's not particularly warm out today, so I don't think there's going to be any packing snow to worry about in the first place. And the other thing is my hybrid setup of a standing traction pad in the rear and a actual boot mount in the front. First ride of the season. Let's go for a ride.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
So I'm kind of limited in the area I could ride this thing because, as you can see, some patches have just outright lost all of the snow. World's first DIY electric snowboard that cost under $1,000 to build. So you sort of can steer this thing a little bit like a skateboard by leaning. It's not the most intuitive thing in the world. You're definitely not doing narrow turns. But for general direction, yeah, it's more than feasible to lean to steer, which is surprising. I figured because it's such a flat surface, we wouldn't have none of that. Let's see if I can thread the eye of the needle here, right in between the sewer and the trees. Oh, yeah. Oh, we did it. I was just starting to slow down. And now the electric snowboard's worst enemy, pavement. Yeah, we're not getting past that. So what we have to do is lift it up and over and back down. And as you see, my rear foot is as close to the fulcrum point of the arms as possible so that as much weight is pushing down on the wheel as possible. And I kind of give it a move forward when I hit the accelerator, and that gets me that initial bit of momentum to get going. Honestly, I've made it a lot farther than I have previously on this thing. Honestly, after riding that electric dirt surfer, this is easier to ride. Semi-depleted battery, fresh battery, and just like that, we are good for another, I don't know how much riding, but a little bit. Yeah, I've gone back and forth quite a few times now. You can see all my tracks in the snow here. Alright, time for the final battery swap. And we're live. Yeah, it's not the greatest cable management in here. If you build one of these things, do a better job at cable management than I did. So the guy whose electric snowboard I based my DIY design off of, his commercial version is actually for sale. I'll link it in the description if you want to buy one without having to worry about all the DIY stuff, but just a heads up, it's going to be a little bit expensive. Alright, so we did, give or take about 5 kilometers of riding if I had to guess. Let's take a look at this thing and see how it's doing. So it's super cold out today, so I wouldn't put too much stock into it, but because it's so cold, the snow isn't packing nearly as much, and I widened the gap in between the wheel and the outer edge here, so it's not actually causing any issues with the wheel rotation. As for the wheel itself, I'm seeing some cracks and splits starting to form, but so far no outright failure of the wheel yet. Some of these cracks are just from when the ABS was actually printing. The only one I'm actually concerned about is this crack right here. The rest is all just wear and tear from it hitting the hard ground as it strikes underneath the snow. Yeah, these are the new pieces, and that's about the width that it is to start. So this actually hasn't worn down any. I mean, this is from the first time I tried testing it, and it was just thin snow on top of some hard concrete, so it actually got a little bit worn down. But the newer section of wheel is still pretty good. So I'm actually impressed with the longevity of a 3D printed ABS wheel. As for the traction board, it's been holding up mostly pretty well, but I just noticed that I'm actually missing a few sections of the traction pad where the tie down was holding to it. And then right here, you can see I'm actually missing one of the pegs. Given how cold it is, the PLA was probably super brittle, so I'm actually somewhat impressed with that. As long as it's still doing its job, I mean, there's not enough snow to stop me from having actual traction on this. It did its job for sure. As for the mounting arms, they're actually holding up really well, except I'm noticing a single stress fracture right there. You can see it. So I got to keep an eye on that. But as for the rest of it, like at the base of where the arms mount to the board, I'm not seeing any stress fractures. The stainless steel inserts to strengthen the axle mount is holding up pretty well. Nothing on this side. Other than the wheel actually sits pretty loose, so I got to be careful that the wheel doesn't actually drop out and yank on the cord. And as for the underside, I didn't even polish this. This is just exactly as I got it from the thrift store. All of the hurricane bolts are not creating anywhere near as much drag as I thought. You can see my kind of hack job where I widened the distance between the wheel and the board there. All in all, I'm super impressed with this build. I definitely want to get this thing out, do more and more interesting stuff with it, like the sodium ion battery pack I'm building for my electric skateboard. It's the same voltage as what this uses, so I could theoretically use it in this and do the world's first sodium ion powered electric snowboard. So you guys be sure to let me know what kind of stuff you want to see me do with this. Let me know down below.